Hi there. It's May 30th and we're continuing our progress through the book of 2 Samuel, completing chapter 15 and coming into 2 Samuel 16. This is the sad picture of David as he leaves Jerusalem after the overthrow by his son Absalom. He is fleeing Jerusalem and he's coming up the Mount of Olives towards the wilderness. It says he goes the way of the wilderness. The wilderness is the place of exile, but also the place of God speaking. So David is going into a place where he's familiar with, in a sense, looking back to the times when he fled from Saul. But as he goes, the people are coming with him, and so Ittai the Gittite comes with him, but he says, "Why are you coming with me?" "Well, we want to be with the king." And also Zadok the priest brings the Ark of the Covenant, brings the Ark of God's presence with them. And David says, no, these should go back. This should go back to Jerusalem because it belongs in Jerusalem. It belongs with God's people. It's not my personal possession. And so he sends Zadok back. He also sends back his friend Hushai, who is wanting to come with him. But David says, no, actually go back, and you be, Zadok and Hushai, you be my ears in the court of Absalom and feed back to me what's happening so that I will know what's going on. You can do more good for me there than here. And then at the beginning of chapter 16, Ziva, the servant of Mephibosheth, who was the one, remember, the son of Jonathan, that David showed covenant bonded grace to, he, it turns out, has stayed in Jerusalem because he thinks that the kingdom might be returned to him. Now we also hear here that that Absalom has taken on board Ahithophel to be his counselor. And Ahithophel, it says in one place towards the end of the chapter, that Ahithophel's counsel was just like that of the counsel of God. He's such a wise counselor that David prays that Ahithophel's counsel would be frustrated and turned around. So he asked God to frustrate Ahithophel's counsel. Then Shimei, who is part of the descendants of Saul, begins to curse David as he's leaving Jerusalem. And they ask David, do you want us to dispatch this man who's cursing you? And David says, no, if my own son has turned against me, maybe God has sent Shimei to curse me and to speak these words against me. And so he just gives that whole situation back to God. But then the scene shifts at the end of chapter 16 back to Jerusalem, because Absalom has now come to Jerusalem to set up his own throne there, and he takes on these counselors, Ahithophel. But Hushai also comes back and says that he wants to serve Absalom. Absalom says, why are you coming to me? Why are you not with my father? He says, well, I want to be in the king's presence and you're the king. Not knowing that obviously he's going to be a spy for David. And right at the end of chapter 16, a terrible thing happens in fulfillment of the word of Nathan to David. When David has committed his sin with Bathsheba, Nathan prophesied that there would be a public desecration or a public violation of the son of the concubines of King David. And sure enough, Ahithophel advises Absalom to set up a tent on the roof of his palace and to have sex with David's concubines. But remember that the harem of a king is seen as something that belongs to the king, and so it passes on to the successor of the king. And therefore Absalom is making this clear statement, I am in charge now, I have the right to take my father's concubines. We see throughout this situation, this terrible situation, that David is receiving this situation as being from the hand of the Lord. So even when Shimei curses him, he realizes that this is part of the consequences of what he's done, part of the consequences that Nathan spoke to him. But he's looking also for God's salvation. He's looking also for God's rescue in the midst of it. Even in dark situations, even in situations that are consequences of our own doing, God is able to save, to step in and to help us. Have a very good May the 30th.